Welcome back to another Pinal's People. We're joining you again from Florence, and today my guest is Pinal County Sheriff Mark Lamb. Sheriff Lamb has been the head of the Pinal County Sheriff's Office for the last 8 years, and since he was first elected in 2016.
That's right. That's right.
Sheriff, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for coming in. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we are super excited to have you on the show. And so to get started, I like to ask everybody who joins us to kind of give a little bit of background on their story and their background for people who, A, might not be familiar with them or just, don't know enough about their personal story.
How far back are we going?
As far back as you want.
I'll give a quick overview. Born and raised in Hawaii. My dad was not military. My dad was actually a graduate of Thunderbird, which is an international business school. And born and raised in Hawaii on the Big Island, Hilo. When I was 11, we moved to the Philippines. And then my family was from Arizona, pioneers of Arizona. And so when I was in high school, we came back here, junior high and high school. During high school, we moved to Panama. And then from there, I went to Argentina. I was a missionary in Argentina. And then since then, I've been mostly back in Arizona. We had a little stint in Florida, a little stint in Utah as we were married, a little stint in Panama. But for the most part, we've been here in Arizona. And certainly over the last, obviously, 20 years, I've been able to make a career in law enforcement. So never set out to be a cop. I never thought about it as a kid. It was not anywhere on my list of what I wanted to do in life. Went on one ride along with a guy that worked at the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community, and that was it. I was hooked. And since then, I was 33 years old, so I've been a cop since I was 34 years old.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Wow, that's incredible. And actually, so I'd love to ask you, it seems like, based off of what you just shared with me, you've had an extensive history, that's included a lot of travel outside, of Pinal County, obviously, but outside of, the U.S. Do you think that's informed kind of who you've become as sheriff?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I think that every American should spend some time outside of the country. Mm-hmm. I think that we would see a much deeper appreciation for what America is, instead of nitpicking it for its faults. That's what we have now. We have people that have no idea how good they really have it, and they've never been anywhere else. Mm-hmm. And when you go to other countries, as beautiful as they may be and as great as the people may be, they're not America. Mm-hmm. And you'll come back and you'll appreciate the ground that that we've been blessed with here in this country, and you realize that for whatever our faults are, we're 1,000 times better than every other country. And it's because of the Constitution and we're a very religious country, and all these things combine to make this just an amazing place. Yeah. So yeah, I think that people would be better suited. They would appreciate their country a lot more if they took the opportunity to go and visit some other places, live there, whatever they decide to do. It would really deepen their love for this country. Mm-hmm.
And so when you think back to the 8 or 9 years before when you were debating running for sheriff for the first time, can you share with us a little bit about what was the moment you knew you wanted to run for sheriff?
So I was working out at the Salt River Pima Maricopa Indian community. I was a gang and drug detective, but I didn't like the direction of the country. I didn't like the direction of the country. I thought we were getting further and further away from the Constitution. I also thought that politicians were undermining the rule of law, and the media was kind of jumping on it. And then you started to see the phones come about, and what we started seeing was really just deteriorating that trust between police and the community. And so for that, what was one of the reasons? The second reason was I just thought that law enforcement needed different leadership, better leadership. Mm-hmm. And when you're in law enforcement, guys are in this career, and so we pick our leaders from who we have. Doesn't necessarily mean you get true leaders all the time. And so I thought there was an opportunity for better leadership and hopefully change the direction of the country that I didn't like. Mm-hmm. And so I decided that I was going to run for office. I remember I was sitting with my guys, all the guys on my gang unit, and I said, you know what? I think I'm going to run for sheriff. Mm-hmm. And they said, you're crazy. You're crazy. I said, no, I think I'm going to run for sheriff. And so I did. I put in my application, came out here, had a huge pay cut, had to go through a lot of tough times to get to put myself in a position where I thought I would be capable of running for sheriff.
Yeah.
And then right when I got to the end, I had to leave. I started a business. The business was going pretty well. And I remember I was working in Utah and called my wife, and I told my wife, I said, hey, look, I've been reading a lot of articles, been thinking a lot about this. I don't think I'm going to do it. I think, well, maybe we'll do it 4 years from now, 8 years from now, who knows? Business is going good. She said, oh, no problem, I support you. And for the next, I think, 24 to 48 hours, I could not shake the feeling of sheriff. And so I basically just called her back after 2 days, and I said, screw it, let's do it. And that's the rest, then we ended up running and winning, and here I am 8 years later.
Yeah,
So.
yeah, that's incredible. And so, you talked a little bit about what motivated you to run, and you spoke a little bit about the direction of the country. I'd love if you could speak because I think a lot of people sometimes, they think about local office, and they sort of see that it doesn't really have an impact into kind of like the bigger picture. I'd love if you can if you could speak a little bit about your mind frame and why you felt like running for sheriff would have that impact that you were looking for.
Well, when you understand what the Founding Fathers gave us, they gave us a constitutional republic, and the power really belongs to the state and local government. The federal government is not designed to be what it is now. And so we think that the important positions in this country are Senate and Congress, but they really don't have a tremendous amount to do with our daily lives. Our daily lives are dictated by local politics, school boards, county boards of supervisors, sheriff, mayors, city councils, all the way up to the governor. I think those are the people, state legislators, state senators. And I knew enough about politics while I wasn't an expert by any stretch of the imagination, nor am I now. I knew enough about politics to know that your local politics can make an impact in your life. And so even though it didn't seem like, well, I can't change, and that's true, I couldn't change what was going on a federal level.
Yeah.
Fast forward 8 years, and a few months ago, that's why I did what I did.
Yeah.
But I knew I couldn't change what was on a federal level, but I could change and I could protect what was at a local level. And I thought with my experience and my skill set that sheriff would be a good spot for that. Having been in law enforcement, and so it was a no-brainer for me. This was a good place to be. And sheriff, much to the chagrin of people who don't like the office of sheriff, they think it's too much power. The sheriff's office, the sheriff is the last line of defense for your freedoms, your constitution, to protect the law, to protect you from the bad guys, protect you from government overreach. That's the role of the sheriff. That's what it was designed to be. And so it's been a lot of work, but it's been very rewarding. And I could actually see a measurable change, not just with my employees, not just with the county. We saw on a national level how people viewed Pinal County, and we made a big change.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when you ran for federal office, what was kind of your mind frame about that? About, I think I want to go for this. I want to try to run for a federal office and see, if I can make that difference.
I didn't want to run for federal office. It wasn't something I wanted to do. My long-term goal, I was at a crossroads career-wise. I was at a crossroads because either I was going to be the sheriff till I was 80, because of the retirement was not enough. It's a different retirement for elected officials. So I was looking at, am I going to be able to retire on what I currently have? No. I would have to probably be the sheriff till I'm 80 and make not much money the whole time I'm doing it.
Oh, wow.
Or I could go to the private sector and take advantage and maybe make some money. So my goal was to run for one more term as sheriff and be there for 2 years and then turn it over to somebody for the last 2 years of the term. And then they would have the opportunity to run again. And so that was the goal. Running for Congress, Senate was not on my list of things to do. But as we started dealing with more and more of the border issue, I started realizing that we can't fix a lot of these. I can only do so much as a sheriff. I can protect the herd from the wolves, but at some point, if somebody doesn't go hunt those wolves, then they're just going to multiply and replenish, and eventually even the best sheriff can't keep them out. And so what I thought was, hey, look, there's some real problems. And I happen to have the experience and the skill set to do those, to address those problems. The border was the number one issue. The economy, we run a large budget here, $60 million plus dollars. I've been in government, I've been an elected official. And I looked at I looked at the landscape of the Senate and I thought, we're gonna end up with the same candidates we've had. And people were encouraging me, and it wasn't until we lost our kids that it really hit to us, like, this is what you need to do. And so we did. We made the choice to do it, but it was definitely not something we wanted to do. I didn't lose a lot of sleep. I mean, my pride was hurt by not winning, but didn't lose a lot of sleep either, because the idea of going to Washington, D.C. and doing all that, that wasn't high on my list. I was willing to do it because I'm a patriot and I love this country and I love this state. So I was willing to do it, but it wasn't what I wanted to do.
And, so shifting gears a little bit, I'd love if you could talk a little bit about your time here as sheriff. What would you say has been the most challenging thing for you to overcome as sheriff here in Pinal County?
Well, I don't know that you overcome it, but the most challenging thing is always personnel issues. I mean, you have over 600 employees. There's always personnel things that come up, and making sure that you continue to hire. A lot of people look at us and say, well, all they want to do is be on TV or social media. No, there's a purpose of why we do that. We're on the outskirts of the Phoenix Valley. We compete with every other agency for hiring. I'm expected as the sheriff to make sure that I continue to hire deputies and jail detention officers. I got to do all that. And so we have to stay competitive, and we've looked at ways and found ways to be competitive, and not only be competitive, to be that agency where everybody wants to work.
Yeah.
So the challenge is ongoing. It's not like we overcame it. I mean, it's a constantly revolving thing. People retire. You got to bring more people on. You have to discipline people. Yeah, there's so much to it. And then some of the things that were most, I think initially the challenges that we overcame were getting the budget under control. It took us about a year and a half, but since then we have stayed under budget. I think that is what the people of the county expect us to do. And meanwhile, we've been able to get our guys raises too. So, but when I took over, our guys hadn't had raises in 11 years. And so since then, we've been able to consistently get them more competitive. Another challenge, obviously the border has been a challenge. It's certainly been a challenge in the last going on 4 years now. That has been probably one of the bigger challenges. We've been able to reduce our crime index thanks to guys like Kent Volkmer and everybody in the justice system here in Pinal County. So that was a challenge that we overcame. We had to improve the morale. That was a challenge we overcame. But yeah, I mean, that's what I love about this job is every day there's something new. Every day there's a new thing you can tackle, a new way to try to continue to stay relevant in this profession and do it in a way that the community feels like, hey, we got the best sheriff's office in the state. And I think that we've done that for the most part.
Yeah. And you brought up a few key points that I was actually going to ask you about, like the budget, like morale. Those were things that, if I'm not mistaken, you initially ran on back in 2016. Can you tell me, from the time you took over this position until now, what would you say are the things that you feel like you've accomplished and you've helped change when it comes to not only the culture here at the Pinal County Sheriff's Office, but how the Sheriff's Office is viewed? What are the things you're most proud of?
Well, just to give you an idea, like when we first took over, we hadn't even I wasn't the sheriff yet. And we asked to have a meeting with the county finance. And they said, that we called them and said, hey, we'd love to have a meeting. They said, hold on, we'll call you back. They called back and said, we've never had the sheriff's office ask to have a meeting with us. We didn't know what to do. So being able to immediately jump in and start to work with the county enabled us to be able to fix a lot of problems. And the county knew, hey, these guys want to do right by the sheriff's office and by the people. And so we were able to do that. We've also, my Sheriff's Youth Redirection Program is something that we started I went to Kent Volkmer and I said, hey, look, I want to do something for the youth. I don't know what yet, but if you'll give me some latitude, I'm gonna try to figure it out. So we went to Watsonville, California. We went to a few other places. Ultimately, we came up with the Sheriff's Youth Redirection Program, basically 4 classes. And what it does is it intercepts them before, it doesn't even go to the county attorney's office. It doesn't go to the courts. We intercept it. And it gets us a chance to get our hands on the kids and be able to try to fix them before they go into the legal system. And we've had a lot of success. We've had well over 200 kids go through the program, and I think we had about 5, 6 that have reoffended. So it goes to show you it was an extremely effective program. We've done a veterans program in the jail. We've tattoo removal programs. What are we most proud about now is our reentry program for the jail. We're reducing jail days for inmates, but we're also decreasing recidivism at the same time. We're returning a better product to the county than what I got. This is what we've been working on. And so we're very proud of all those accomplishments. I think when people look at me, they say, here's this conservative sheriff. But they don't realize that I'm working hard for reentry, helping people in jail, helping people in the community, even the border stuff. When we contact these people, we give them the most care. We treat them with respect. We understand their plight coming to this country. They did it illegally, but we understand it. So we have learned to really, inject humanity into this profession. But I'm also not a pushover, and I'm not going to let you push bad social ideas and agendas on me either. It's not. We're going to stand true to what we believe in, and we're going to do it while we protect everybody in their rights, and we treat everybody really well.
And so, yeah, you brought up, some of the different initiatives you guys have done, like working with the youth, the reentry program. Could you speak to, you kind of touched on this a little bit already, but could you speak to why you feel those sort of programs are important and what difference they make?
Well, being in law enforcement, you understand this is quicksand. If you get put into the judicial system, it is not easy to get out of it. And we get it. We understand the weight that we carry as law enforcement officers, that when we show up to somebody's house, we're going to be taking away their most valuable thing, freedom. We might be taking away their freedom. We might be able to taking away their constitutional rights because they broke a law. And we take that very serious. And so we work hard to try to make sure that we're making the right decisions all the time. And I empower my people to be able to make those right decisions as well. And when we do these programs, it's us saying to the community, we respect you. We don't want you to get into the quicksand of the judicial system. We want to stop it before you get there. But if you get there, we have programs in place that'll try to help you get out. Look, my own son ended up in my jail. He spent 6 months in my jail for problems he had while he was not struggling with drugs. He got clean, but he still had to spend 6 months in my jail. And what I saw firsthand was some of the things that we needed to improve. I saw how when he got out of jail and what was there for him and how hard it was for them to get out of that quicksand of getting their license back, paying all their fines, getting off probation. Those are really, they really are oppressive things. They really hold on to you. And we try to help people through that. We understand that this is not easy. There's a price that has to be paid, but we're going to do what we can to help you also get out on the other side of that.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So, I think a lot of people would love to know, Sheriff, what comes next for you?
That's a great question. I've got it a lot lately, and I don't know that politics is my future. It's not I don't love politics. People think, oh, he ran for this, he ran for that. I do it because I'm an American, and I think I want to be the candidate that I would expect somebody else to be. And so I run because I want normal people in office who love this country, who are common sense. That's what I want. So that's why I ran. Sheriff is different. Sheriff is a police thing, but other political offices. And it's a rich man's profession. I mean, it's really hard to run for office if you're not independently wealthy. You can raise the money for your campaign, but that money can't be used to live off of. So you have to have a means by which you live off of. So that's why a lot of people that run for office are already independently wealthy. They can afford to run for office. They don't have to worry about paying bills like the rest of us. I'm a paycheck to paycheck guy. So I don't know the politics is in the future. I will stay very active in law enforcement stuff, border. I'm currently working with the Federation for American Immigration Reform. They do a lot of border stuff. I'm going to work with I'm working currently, I'm going to be doing some work with a doctor that does a lot with mental health and substance abuse. I'm going to stay very active in those things that I'm passionate about. But I'm going to get into the private sector and hopefully make a little money. We don't make a lot of money in law enforcement. So, but I'll tell you what, the second you make a plan, I've learned that God has a way of making you do his plan. So we'll see I'm hoping his plan is my plan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just a couple more questions for you. When you think about everything you've accomplished as Pinal County Sheriff, and even just in your time in law enforcement, that's a lengthy time. And of course, some of the challenges you've encountered, and like we talked about, some of the accomplishments, some of the things that you're proud of. And you take a step back for a moment. What do you hope other people who are listening, whether they be part of the sheriff's office, whether they be community members, what do you hope they take away from your story?
So I got this question from Oliver North. You might be too young to know who Oliver North is, but Oliver North, he knows who Oliver North is. Anybody out there that grew up in the 80s would know Oliver North was a military guy through the Iran-Contra during Reagan's time. I did a podcast with him, and he asked me, Sheriff, how do you want your children and your grandchildren to remember you? And I said, I want them to remember me as a patriot who fought valiantly for God, family, freedom, and the Constitution. And that's how I hope that people will remember me, as a good leader who fought valiantly for God, family, freedom, and the Constitution. And whether it's for myself, or my family, or this agency, their families, our community, the citizens, I hope that they'll say that that man fought for me, and I appreciate that.
It's incredible. So we have one last question for you. Okay. And this is a question we've made our mission to ask everybody who's been on the show this year. And so I would love to get your insight, which is if you can imagine a future, and of course, we may be even approaching that future as we reach November 8th. If you imagine a future, though, where you've accomplished everything you wanted to accomplish as sheriff, of course, but even just in your time in law enforcement, and as you were saying, even into potential projects beyond. And you've accomplished everything you set out to do when you first set out on this journey. And you're kind of taking a step back and looking at all of that. What does that future look like to you?
I'm concerned. Look, I'm concerned about the future. Abraham Lincoln, back before they went to war in the Civil War, he said something. He said, look, I don't think the Union will be dissolved, nor do I think it will fail. However, it cannot continue divided. Either it will go one way or it will go the other way. I am concerned about the division in this country. I get that people are going to be listening to this, saying, "Oh, he's part of the division," and I'm not. But I'm not afraid to stand up for what I believe in, and I respect anybody, even if they believe different than me, that stands up for what they believe in. That's America. But I'm concerned because people are really vitriol about it right now. And I don't know that the outcome of this election, I wish I could tell you because I'm an optimist, but I don't know that the outcome of this election either way is going to resolve things. I think it will accentuate the problems we currently have. Eventually, I think there is a path to fixing it. Obviously, I don't think anybody has any questions about who I think has a better opportunity of fixing it and which direction I think the country needs to go. But what I hope to see eventually is that we get back to God and the Constitution. I think we need to be a better people. I think we need to get back to the godly principles that this country was founded on, the moral principles that this country was founded on. And I also think we need to get back to the Constitution and the simplicity of it. We're trying to make it more complicated. We try to find ways around the Constitution when we should be trying to adhere to the Constitution. So What I hope is that we come together as a country and that we find commonality in God and the Constitution. And I think that's how we restore this country to what it was.
Yeah.
Like people can say, well, the past wasn't always great. Well, first of all, history is being changed as we know it. Like they're changing the history and telling people different than what this country, I mean, it's sad to watch what's going on in this country, but we have to do better. We can be better. But that's why I hope to see. I hope to see us get back and get over this divisiveness, which most of it's caused by government itself. They fuel the fire of divisiveness along with the media. And when you really just get with Americans we get along. We may disagree on a few things, but we get along. We're good neighbors. There are people that divide us, and we need to get past that and get back to God and the Constitution.
Incredible. Awesome. Thank you so much, Sheriff Mark Lamb.
Thank you. Appreciate you guys having me on.